Okay, it tells me I'm live. So, as usual, I'm not 100% sure of my audio, so if somebody can put the high sign in the comments, I would appreciate it. Could I start a little early in case there's some technical difficulties? You know how that is. A-stream pros like Tom and ah, thank you, Count. Appreciate it. Old pros, not as old as me physically, but old in terms of YouTube experience. Hello, Andy. How are you doing? I enjoyed your live stream. Really did. Earlier today. Um, there's people with more experience than me doing the streaming game. Plus, as James will tell you at Dames at Dundas Junction, Dalton, my stubborn unwillingness to use duck is probably also biting me in the butt. Thanks for that report, Tom. Well, I hope everybody is doing okay today. We had a massive windstorm here. It tore a few of the old roofing shingles off my shop here. I've had a roofer. I've been trying to get him in here for months, all winter long, but of course the weather's been terrible. So, and I haven't had any roof problems. But in my continuing series lamenting owning my own building to practice my hobby in. Woe is me, right? World's smallest violin. Um, you know, Having to maintain my roof is certainly an issue. Hey, Joe Rader, good to see you, sir. I think I've said hello to everybody out there who is in chat. Hey, listen, you'll see there's a pinned comment at the top of comments with a survey about airbrush use. If you don't mind going out there and taking that survey, I'd appreciate it. There were 11 people who had responded the last time I checked, and we're going to talk about airbrushes today. So that's kind of just a survey about your airbrush use experience, and I've already learned a few things from the survey responses already. So so that's been useful. Let me make a note. I want to talk about our earlier survey and what we're doing. Like the old pencil and paper to take notes with. Thank you, Joe. Appreciate that. Taking the survey. I appreciate that. Yes, James, you are the champion of the duck. I understand. Hey, that's cool. Andy, whatever works. I've got an Iwata Evolution, but I also have a bunch of Badger brushes. In fact, one here that I'm going to be using for demonstration purpose. Old Badger 150. Whatever works. Yeah, James, the Grex, I welcome your comments when we get going on the stream in full about Grex. I've seen those. They look very ergodynamic. I like the designs. Um, so I'd love to hear about that. I've got 4 or 5 airbrushes. I don't think I'm going to buy another one. But, oh, that's the one you have, Andy, the 150, the bottom feed 150. Well, it's double action brush. It works okay, but well, we'll talk about top feed, bottom feed, and never not how they feel. But I love love painting. It's one of my favorite parts of the hobby. So definitely have some strong feelings about certain. That's funny that I've got the same brush as you. Yeah. But again, I use this Iwata Revolution brush. This is really my primary brush right now. Hey, Chuck Stryver, good to see you, sir. How are things? I think that last time we did STS, I was looking at, there we go. So I do have a participants list that I can refer to. When we start the show in chief. So that's one thing that YouTube is providing. I know that that's really available on the Duck. The Duck provides a really nice participants, but there is one available on YouTube itself. Click on it now. John Train, big friendly giant railroad. I see is here. Hello, John. What's going on? I did not see chat. JD, hello, sir. I see you're out there as well. Good to see you. Sorry I missed you. I see you've been in the chat. I've been paying it, and you're policing the like buttons, the like buttons. So I really appreciate that too. Rusty Pasabayu, what's going on, my friend? Glad to see you here. I see someone saying hello to Rail Artist. There he is. There's Rail Artist. Good to see you, Rail Artist. Thank you for coming by. I appreciate it. As an artist, you'll probably have some strong opinions about airbrushes. So I look forward to getting those opinions. Do indeed. Do indeed. Hope the wife is doing okay, Rail Artist. That's all copacetic for now. You'll see a pinned comment at the top of the comments there, a survey about airbrush use. If you don't mind taking a couple minutes to do that, we'll go over the results of that survey during the course of this stream. In addition to providing an update about the last survey, which was on 3D print content, I'll provide you an update there. Yeah. There's still a lot of wind out there in Pittsburgh. There were gusts just hit the building, and I thought something had moved inside here, but it was something rattling outside. Good to hear, Rail Artist. Good to hear that she's getting better. Health is wealth, as they say. Health is everything. Health is everything. Good to see everybody here and connecting and talking to each other. That's awesome. Awesome. I've got a long list of topics here to cover. I decided not to do anything crazy video technology or audio technology wise. I really want to figure out how to connect my wireless microphone to the computer so that I can walk around the shop. And then I already know how I can connect my phone. It may not look as good as Dwight's, but I can connect my phone. And then I can walk around the shop and show you some of these projects that instead I'm just going to show you some still photos of. But as the weather gets better and as it gets lighter outside, I've always thought about it would be cool to be outside. Hey, Deep Run Mike, what's going on? Good to see you, sir. It would be nice to be outside and to maybe catch a train going by. That would be cool. So I'd like to figure out how to do that. And it would be really cool, really cool to figure out how to get my drone footage showing on screen. So then we could go out. There's some amazing bridges and stuff down here, not, a mile away from the shop here. Railroad bridges, and it'd be great to fly the drone out over the Allegheny and around those bridges and stuff and have you guys along for that ride. Hopefully catch a train time as well. That would be John Benicki. Good to see you. How are you, sir? Welcome aboard. Welcome aboard. A couple of minutes before 8, I will start on time. Ian Mussolini running the trains on time. I'll start the stream on time. But thank you all for coming and spending a little bit of your Sunday evening and kicking the work week off with us here, or maybe just finishing the weekend. I don't know, but either way, you're here with us, Sidetrack Sunday team, and we appreciate it. Me and I appreciate it very much. I know I say it all the time, but the community that we have here on YouTube is pretty incredible. And our community is still small enough that we can really interact meaningfully. When you get really big, like David Scott Rails has got a big community. It's hard to interact in a meaningful way and remember anything about that many people. Right? So we're still small enough that we can still know each other, know what we're doing, really interact like friends. So that's really. JD, what are you working on? Good time of year to get into the shop. Hey, Dave at DB Tech. What's going on, Dave? You're traveling and you're still here on the stream? Wow. I appreciate the support. You are a true STS team member. Now let me read JD's comment here. Bob, maybe you could mount a rail cam at the shop. I don't think I could charge a fee. There's a lot of free rail cams out there, but JD, Boxcar Jerry has suggested not the charging part, but that I mount a camera on a pole on the roof here. There's an NS line. I don't know how many trains go by every day, but it's a fair number. During the week, there's a fair number, 10, 12, maybe more. I don't know, 1 an hour. They were working on the line the other day, and I don't know if they're done, honestly. Did I hear a train? I don't think I've heard a train all day today, but I've only been here about 2 or 3 hours. Oh, you got back, Dave. Okay. Excellent. Excellent. Well, I'm glad you're safe and that you made it and you had a good time down in Florida. That's a bit of a drive, man. Man, that's not a drive I would take lightly. That's for sure. All right. Well, it's 8 o'clock and it's time to start the stream. So I want to say everybody here knows that this is the Sidetrack Sunday live stream that happens every Sunday night at 8 o'clock, hosted by a variety of people. We'll go over the schedule now for the rest of the month, but also at the end of the show, just to remind you. So next week, Rick Bailey has got the show. That's 322. Rick Bailey at the Fultz Bailey Model Railroad. And on the 29th of March is, as I call him, the Podfather, although this is podcast. I don't know, the cast father, the live stream father, doesn't have a very good ring to it. But Ray Bobel has got the final Sunday, the 5th Sunday of March. Hello, Anthony, MTO. How are you, sir? Thanks for stopping by. Good to see you here. Hope your daughter is continuing to improve. I know she had some health problems. So that's kind of the deal and why we're here. And we're doing model railroad talk every Sunday for an hour or more. And so we're going to do that today. Um, and so thanks for joining me. I'm Bob Johnson, and this is PK&W Model Works. PK&W is, you can see behind me, Pohoy, Karankawa, and Western Railroad is the name of my railroad. And so without further ado, I'm going to launch into my agenda. And the first thing I want to do is I want to talk about Hot Dog Andy's live stream this morning. I finally caught Andy's live stream. Andy's over in the UK, but he live streams, I think, at 9 a.m. Eastern time on Sunday, and there's no reason why I shouldn't catch that stream. And I've got to tell you, Andy's live stream is wonderful. He has a very soothing manner. He's very entertaining but calming voice. And he's got a beautiful layout, a very well organized layout space, a very clean layout, and a great crowd. There's a lot of fellow Brits on there, I think. But it is, hey, Ray B, what is going on? Ray Bertelson, glad to see you, sir. But I highly recommend checking out Hot Dog Andy's live stream. He just went over 500 subscribers, and he's deserving of many more than that, really. I mean, I just really like his style. He's got his act together, live stream. He's got the tech down. It's a great experience, and I really enjoyed the time that I spent in the chat with Andy this morning, and so I wanted to recommend that to all of you on a Sunday morning. If you're not going to church, I recommend Andy's stream. Now, the next thing on my agenda, again, if you see the pinned comment at the top, there's a link to a survey. Please jump out there and take that survey right now, if you don't mind. That's a survey about airbrush use, and we're going to be talking about that in a few minutes, but you have enough time to go out there and complete that survey for me. There's already probably, I know there were 10 people the last time, at least probably 15 people have already taken it. It's anonymous, but it'd be great to know where we are, and there were already some interesting things to talk about. Hey, Wigwag, what is going on, sir? Good to see you. Thanks for coming. Thanks for coming. I think John Benicki I already said hello to. Yeah, right, Chuck. Hey, Chuck, I don't think I saw you, but, you know, Andy's live streams are just an incredible pleasure. So you all should check that out. So the next thing I'm going to talk about is what I am going to be doing the last weekend in March, which is I am going to be going to what is purportedly the biggest static scale model show in Canada. This occurs in Hamilton, Ontario, so it's not far away from James at Dundas Junction, Todd Armstrong, Mini Prince Bernard, Trackside Mike, you know, that whole crew there. Apologies if I'm leaving people out. I'm sure I'm leaving out. You know, Frog and Flange, James and Frog and Flange. You know, there's a bunch of people in that neck of the woods. And this static model show is called Heritage Con, and it takes place there's a historic warplanes museum in Ontario, Hamilton, Ontario. It takes place there. Claim to fame of this museum is that it has one of only 2 functioning Lancaster bombers. And the model show actually takes place in the hangar where all these historic aircraft are stored. And so not only are you at a model show, but you are surrounded by all these amazing historic aircraft. So pretty cool, pretty cool. I have extra reason to go there. Right, you are the closest. Because I've got all our buddies, and I can see James, I can maybe see Trackside Mike, Todd Armstrong, I can see some of this crew while I'm up there. Oh, Floyd. Floyd Robbins. He's not here, but Floyd is up there as well. I definitely want to see Floyd. So, um, so I will. I'll be reaching out to folks, and I welcome you to reach out to me if you want to get together. I believe that the model show is on Sunday, March 29th. I will be arriving on Saturday, the 28th, and I think that Saturday, the 28th, would be the best day to get together. Chris, model train aficionado, I didn't see you come in. Welcome aboard, sir. And so if you're in that neck of the woods, feel free to reach out to me. My contact info on my About page on my YouTube channel. Feel free to reach out to me. I'd love to get together and see you all. But one of the things that in a non-model railroad project that's going to lead us into the airbrushing topic. Again, don't forget that link up top to take the survey on airbrush use that we're going to be discussing in a few moments. So you've got a few minutes. Oh, man, I don't know why my arm twinged like that. I haven't really been doing anything today except sitting in front of a computer. But, oh, they're working on a third Lancaster. That's interesting. So I am actually going to, I haven't entered a model in a model contest in many decades, but I am going to be entering 3 models into this contest in Canada, and I'm going to show you those models right now. They are behind me. But I used my airbrush to do these models, and so that got me back into airbrushing, and I thought that would be a good topic. So I know my sound might degrade a little bit, but here behind me are the 3 models that I'm going to be taking. One is not completed, but it will probably be completed tomorrow or the next. But these are 1-to-1 scale models of artillery rounds, tank rounds. This one here, they are plastic models. They're made by a company called Pig Models in Taiwan. They come in basically, 3 or 4 pieces. They're very, a tube, projectiles 1 piece, the casing is another piece, the base, 5 or 6 pieces at the most. This particular round here is the round that was the 88 millimeter round that was fired, armor piercing round based on the white tip, black body of the shell. This is the armor-piercing round fired by the Tiger I tank during World War II, and also by 88 millimeter field gun, 88 millimeter gun, very effective weapon. So I did that a couple of years ago. There's a video on my channel about that process of building that model. So probably a year ago or more, I had so much fun doing that, I said, boy, I need to order another one. And so I ordered this one. This big one is the Tiger II round. It's still an 88 millimeter round, but it's the round fired by the Tiger II tank. And it's a high explosive round. It's got a yellow projectile. And when I got that, and I didn't open it for 6 months or more, it was just sitting there, wrapped up, didn't even unwrap it. But when I unwrapped it, I got the box open, lo and behold, inside was this other model. Yeah, I see you, Tom. Yeah, I don't think these would be very useful, and they are pretty easily demonstrated that they're plastic. They're hollow. I've put some weight in to keep them standing up, but they're obviously not as heavy as a real artillery round. But in the center here is the 76.2 millimeter Soviet round fired by the T-34-76 tank, and probably some field pieces they had as well. Interesting kind of warhead. And in terms of airbrushing, I had to airbrush this copper band around here as well as this stenciling on here. So that's what I airbrushed there. On the Tiger II round, I airbrushed the yellow, the silver, compression bands, and I'll be putting on stenciling there as well. Stenciling is not as elaborate as the Tiger One round here. This has got red, white, and black, very colorful. This is all black stenciling, Tiger Two, but I will be doing that later. So those are the three models that I'm taking to Hamilton, and thank you, JD, and entering in the competition. Now, honestly, like any model, as you know, when you make a model, all you see is the flaws. So when I look at these, I see the things I did wrong, but I'm not going to let that stop me. I think people are really going to enjoy looking at these, and so that's what I'm counting on. I'm not expecting to win any awards. I had to enter these in the catch-22 categories, they call it in Hamilton, which is everything else, because it doesn't fit into a standard plastic model category. But at any rate, this got me, well, first, I'm just thrilled to be going to Hamilton. I'll be glad to see as many of you as I can. Actually entering some models into a contest, which I haven't done in probably 30 years or more. Very exciting just to get back into the swing and be able to. Interesting, Chris. Yeah, you know, Dwight, somewhere I have a practice round, mortar round, that my father turned into a doorstop, and I have it here somewhere. I'll have to dig it up, but clearly not a functioning round. My father did have a baby jar full of mercury house, though. Thank you, Chris. Appreciate you taking the survey. I'll be moving over to the survey momentarily. Since I had to get my airbrush going to do these, I've been thinking about painting. And so I thought it would be a good time to talk about painting and to get your opinions about painting and to talk a little bit about airbrushing. I don't want to insult anybody. There's probably people here who were, right, Saturday night, James. I think that's the time. Maybe we just pick a place and get together for food and drink and just invite everybody in the area to come join us if they can. And I know Floyd is interested in doing that. So if you know where Floyd is, you might want to pick a place. Dwayne, what's going on? Dwayne's Fork and Spoon. Good to see you, sir. Day 2 in the hospital. Is it you, Dwayne, or are you there visiting, taking care of somebody else? Either way, thoughts and prayers are with you. Thoughts and prayers are with you. Wow, that's tough. That puts things into perspective, doesn't it? Here I am talking about playing and going to a model show. And Dwayne has got reality. So hang in there, Dwayne. Hope I can provide a little entertainment anyway for you while you're going through. So, so before I start on the airbrushing, though, I do have one project that I want to show you quickly, and that is this little truck here, this Bush E350 van. I started this and showed you the decals a while ago, and now it is finished. I'm kind of impatient. I probably should have waited to finish this until I had got a figure in the cab, but I didn't do it. Okay, James, yeah, I wouldn't expect to get together until later in the day at dinner time. So, but there you go. These little Bush kits are just outstanding. If you've never put one of these together, I highly recommend it. Very easy to do, very well engineered, practically builds itself, honestly. And great little truck, and I love doing the decals for that. So that project is essentially across the finish line. For those who say I never finish a project. All right, now I am going to go over to the survey results. All right, well, 25 of you have responded to the survey, so thank you very much. Thank you very much for doing that. I'm going to switch over my view so that you all can see what I'm seeing on the results page. And again, thank you very much for taking the survey, and we'll engage in some discussion as we go through the through the results. So this is interesting. Do you own and use an airbrush regularly? 17 said yes, but 8 said no. And those no are definitely people who I think hopefully everybody can gain something from this discussion, but I think that those folks in particular, I want to hear why they're not doing it. Hey, Sparky. Well, Sparky, I'm going to be in your neck of the woods on the night of the 28th, so maybe you can get together with us if you're free. Sorry, I just got distracted by chat there. So we got 68% of the people, or 17%, who have an airbrush and use it regularly, and 32% either don't have one or they don't use it on a regular basis. So hopefully those of us here with more success airbrushing. Hey, Edward, Happy Valley. How are you doing? Good to see you. Hope everything's all right. All right. So question 2. Now, this surprised me a little bit. I thought I had the question was, if you own an airbrush but don't use it much, why? And I thought that my choices provided here were pretty good and covered the landscape. Cleanup's too much of a pain. No way to vent fumes. Don't have a good air supply. I'm not good enough at using it. But 8 people said other. So let's examine those answers. We'll see. But in terms of cleaning up your airbrush, I'd like to hear what you all do to clean up your airbrush. Now, this is what I do. And I use this paint, which is Montana Black. This is a spray paint that is used by graffiti artists, and I use this to paint all my models. This Montana Black is a lacquer-based paint, and there are about 375 colors, and so there's always something close enough to do what I want to do. For example, the yellow on this shell, I had 2 or 3 yellows, and one of them was pretty close, but I could have run across the river to an art supply store that stocks Montana Black, gotten that. So this is the paint that I use. This influences my cleanup process. And so what I do to clean my airbrush, that's right, lacquer thinner, Dave, is what I use to clean this with. I do spray with enamels as well. I do not spray with acrylics. I have had bad luck with that. We'll talk about that later. I just dump whatever's left in the paint cup out onto the cardboard in the bottom of my spray booth. Right, I know James only uses water-based, and water-based is certainly popular because it doesn't have a lot of odor. And so if you're sharing your living space, or you have sharing your living space with someone who's very sensitive to fumes, then that's a no-brainer. You've got to go with the acrylics. I just don't have good luck with those. But what I do is dump out any excess paint in the paint cup. I take a rag and I wipe out all the paint that I can get out of the paint cup. There's still some in the bottom. I then pour a little bit of lacquer in there, shake it around, a little lacquer thinner around in there, and I spray it out. And I do that 3 times. And by then, it's clear. Airbrush is basically clear of paint. I don't have any problems. And I can put another color in that paint cup and spray it right then without any problems. Now, if it's a metallic, that can linger in there. All right, Count. Yeah. I'm out there. Artillery shells and graffiti paint. Yeah, I know. And so and that honestly, that clears that process of rinsing out my cup 3 times and spraying it clear. That works pretty well. Now, at the end of a session, yeah, real artists, you have a lot more experience with a variety of mediums than I do, I am sure. So, okay, Andy, yeah, that's true. But at the end of a paint session, after my 3 rinse process, I will then pull the needle out, clean the needle, wipe it down. I'll wipe down the front of the airbrush if it's got any collected paint on there. I'll also take the airbrush. I neglected to indicate that when I'm running the lacquer thinner through the airbrush in order to clean it, I will put the tip against a piece of cloth and spray. That'll kick some of the lacquer thinner back up into the nozzle area of the airbrush and clean all that out. Knock out any paint that might be in. So I do that. And I will do that again when I am cleaning out the brush after the end of a session. I'll pull the needle out, clean the needle. I'll put the needle back in. I'll run more thinner through it. If it seems to be sticking and there seems to be some residue, I will just drop the entire airbrush, the front of the airbrush body, into a small container of lacquer thinner and let that work and clean up everything that's in there. Yes, that's a good point, Andy. You do have to be careful with your needle. If you get that bent, you are in trouble. So you have to be carefully remove that. And, Tom, you mentioned your 3D models, and I would be curious to know, are you priming them with anything, or are you painting just with acrylics? Because I've been priming mine with enamels, spray can of enamels. That's right, James. Yeah, you don't have to do a full cleaning every time. You don't have to take it apart every time. I tend to do it if I have a session where I just sprayed one color, I probably am not going to take it apart. But if I've had a long session, I've run 3 or 4 colors, especially if I've run a metallic through there, I will, like when I did the compression bands here, or I did this copper color here, then I will definitely do a better. Okay, so we're talking about the primer. You don't prime. Okay, yeah. All right. Well, I do have a primer recommendation for you. Now, if you're a water-based guy or gal, then this is not going to help you. But this stuff is absolutely amazing. I'm not sure if the camera's going to focus on it, but this is Mr. Finishing Surfacer 1500. There's a whole line of paints from Japan called Mr. Surfacer, Mr. Primer, Mr. It's all Mr. something, Mr. Japan. Wow, Tom, you're very thorough. I don't have the patience to do that, and I don't find it necessary to do a full teardown after each session. It depends. If I've painted a long time with multiple colors, I will. But if I've just done one color, I'm probably not going to do it. And Joe, are those Tamiya paints you're using? Those are apparently water-based paint. I'm rubbing on a head. But again, this Mr. Surfacer thinner, primer, is absolutely incredible stuff. And they have a thinner that comes with this. You can just use regular lacquer thinner with this product. but they have a product called Mr. Surfacer Leveling Thinner. I neglected to bring that to my bench here. But that will encourage this to lay down flat. And my gosh, this is an incredible primer. It's a light gray color. It will identify flaws in your surface that you had no idea existed. No idea existed. So it's really good stuff, and it's a decent sized bottle. This is going to last me for many, many projects, but it's very good stuff. And they make some coarser thinners. This is the finishing thinner, the finishing primer rather, 1500, but they make a 1000 and a 500 that are a little bit coarser. They're all good products, and they're just a tremendous. That's right, Wigway. It is amazing stuff, Mr. Surface. I'm not going to read the ingredient label. I don't want to know what's in it. Probably, it can't be any worse than this stuff, to tell you the truth. So, let's go back to our survey. I want to look at what are the reasons. 47% of the people had other reasons why they don't use their airbrush. So let's hear. Too many family members with severe asthma issues. Okay, that makes sense. Just don't weather much. I hope that will change soon. Well, I guess my comment there would be airbrushing is for more than weathering. Okay, Tom, you gave it a try. Well, can't ask for more than that. Folks in the model car world call it unicorn. Yeah, it is. It is amazing. Okay, some of the other reasons are not doing painting, just never learned. Don't own one that I know of. Used to own one. We got lost in the. Oh, that's sad. That's sad. None of those listed. Need more projects is why they're not doing it. One is a combination: time, space, and venting. And the other person said, I use. Well, unfortunately, that didn't really provide us with a lot of insights, but I do like it when people provide a write-in response that can really help us, really give us. So, sorry, I'm doing. I'm just checking comments here. Yeah, Andy, I hear you, and I want to know how you address the humidity in your area. I mean, I am working inside. I'm spraying in a spray booth, but I don't have a dehumidifier here. In fact, quite the contrary. In another room here in the shop, my wife runs a humidifier 24/7 to keep plants alive. So but I don't know. The last time I checked, it's about 50% humidity. We've had a couple of cold snaps since. Well, that's true, Tom. You can use colored filament, and I have some models that are printed in multiple colors, but not as good as paint. It looks toy-like. Maybe the way you do it, it comes out better. But for me, you wait for a sunny, wind-free day. You go outside. Yes, and that we'll talk about going outside. That's one of the options in the answers to a question a little bit further down. You're painting model airplanes, Dwayne. Okay. Well, I do the same, obviously. Painting non-trained subjects as well as trained. That's right, Dan. Dan's Model Railroad Journey saying it takes practice. It does take practice, but boy, I tell you, even without a lot of practice, I don't consider myself an expert. I'm not going to be able to do one of those squiggle camouflage patterns from German night fighters in World War II freehand. I can't do that with an airbrush. Some people can. But the finish you can get with an airbrush is so much better than brushing. It just really is It really is just, no, there's nothing like it. Okay, so question number 3 was, if you don't own an airbrush, why not? Yeah, it's a good idea to use a dehumidifier, AD. I just don't have one. Maybe I should. Maybe I should. Hello, Rick. Well, you know, Rick, I don't know. You don't need much space to airbrush. You could go outside. No way to vent the. Oh, sorry, your survey didn't go through, Ed. Yeah, that sounds like dangerous stuff, Andy. I would spray that outside too. I do like to spray outside. Um, yeah, that's true, Dan. I like to use stencils. They are very helpful. They are very helpful. You know, if you're masking off a particular panel on an aircraft wing and you want to get a different color aluminum on there to create some contrasting panels, you can lay down some stencils there and do that. Yeah, it is very, very helpful. Okay, so don't own an airbrush. Why not is the question. And the only responses are, I don't see the need for an airbrush. 3 said, I'm not sure how to get started. And 6 were other, and we'll go and explore those answers. Not seeing the need for an airbrush. I guess if you're buying all ready to run trains, then, and you're not using an airbrush for weathering, and there certainly are ways to weather. Tom, you're saying Rick Bailey had a lot of compressors? So I guess what you're telling me is Rick is a experienced airbrusher, and I don't need to encourage him or help him figure out how to use an airbrush in his current small space. Yeah, Chris, I love airbrushing too. And I got to tell you, having my spray booth set up again has really gotten me painting again. Before I had the booth up, I wasn't painting. It was hard to paint. You have to go outside. It's ridiculous. Now, 2 minutes I can be over there and well, yeah, I'm with you, Rick. Again, having that spray booth, that station there, it's always set up. I just hit a button, all the fumes are going out because my booth vents to the outside. I can paint, you know, in 5 minutes I'm set up and I'm painting. So that really is good. So those who don't see the need for airbrushing, if you're not painting your models, if all you're doing is weathering, see you, Dan. See you, Dan. I appreciate your being here and your participation. Sorry I have to go. If you're not airbrushing and you've never airbrushed, then you don't know what you're missing in terms of your ability to put down a smooth coat and not apply too much paint. You know, brush painting, you end up applying a lot of paint and you're obscuring detail. And it just, I've never been able to get a satisfactory finish using a brush. I know there are people who can. I've never been able to do it. Okay, James, that's great. I'll look forward to seeing your airbrush. I saw it when I was in your basement, but it would be great to focus on it again, James. Thanks, JD, for monitoring the thumbs up there. So if you're not painting and you're just weathering, buying ready to run rolling stock, I don't know how you're painting your and you know this. I know this is going to bleed over another question, but how are you painting your landscaping? How are you painting your scenery? You know, you really need to be laying down color washes and things, and you need to be painting your structures. You do it with a brush, and if you're making wooden structures, a brush painting is probably almost as good, or maybe even better, because it's quicker to clean up than airbrushing. But if you're doing plastic structures, if you're trying to simulate concrete and the staining on concrete, if you're trying to simulate, subtle color changes in a gravel parking lot or even an asphalt parking lot, it's hard to beat an airbrush. Hard to beat an airbrush. So I would say, I would argue with people who say they don't need an airbrush. I think an airbrush is an essential. Not sure how to get started. We're going to cover an easy way to get started a little bit later here. Others, let's go ahead and take a look at our other comments and see what we got. Not worth the expenditure with the health issues in the house. Very good comment. I have 2 airbrushes, portable and compressor. We're going to talk about the portable later. I own one. I use mine. Okay, so our other comments were not really that helpful here either. About that. I've crowed about the importance of the other responses. Now we're not really getting a lot out of them. Yeah, Ed, I used a lot of spray cans, and I failed to mention that these big artillery shells, I painted this with a spray can. I did not use an airbrush for that. Anything with this body, I just used a spray can of metallic paint and sprayed those. And while we're on the subject of spray cans, I've already told you that, this is the paint that I used, Montana Black Graffiti Spray Paint. Much cheaper than model paint because while this can might cost, between $7 and $12, depending on where you get it, I don't know, it's probably 10 times bigger than a can of model paint. Okay, Rick. We do what we want to do. But here is how I get the paint into my airbrush cup. I just tape the, sorry, maybe you all can't see that very well. Let me change my view. I just tape a straw, one of these bendy straws, to the nozzle of the spray can. I bend it down, cut it short, and then all I do is I put a drop or two of thinner into the cup of my airbrush. And then I just put this in there and I spray paint into that. Obviously, this paint has been thinned. And so it's ready to be sprayed. It's ready to be sprayed coming out of here. So I shake this up well. I spray a bit of it onto a scrap surface. And then I fill my cup up, my airbrush cup up, using the spray can, right out of the spray can. So it's very easy to get the paint in there and start spraying. And it's paint that's already been prepared for you. Look, I'm grabbing my airbrush and already fingering the trigger, ready to start painting. So at any rate, that's how I get my paint into the container, assuming I'm using some of this Montana Black spray paint. I just decant straight into the airbrush cup. So there's no cleaning up of another jar, using a pipette to move paint across. I'm a clumsy, you all have seen my hands shake like a leaf. I don't need to be moving paint drop by drop into the cup on my airbrush. It's just, it's going to be a mess. Just going to be a mess. Let's see. I don't know. It looks like maybe somebody's joined the convo that I haven't seen. I don't know. Oh, Steve 87th is here. All right, Steve, you missed my my talk about my Bush E350 van, that a project that I finished. I know you're a vehicle guy. So, what do you use an airbrush to paint? What do you paint? So, locos, rolling stock, structures, scenery and track, pretty evenly distributed. Everything on the layout is being painted using an airbrush, which is cool. And we've got 5 others. So let's see. Who answered other? Weathering. Okay. Other models. Won't use one, somebody says. Weathering vehicles. Good point. That was probably Steve 87 said that. But those were the others. Okay. Hello, Mark. It's Stu Structures. Good to see you, sir. You know, I don't really pay a lot of attention to my pressure settings because I'm adjusting the amount of air coming out of the gun with the trigger. And so I'm using some fraction of the available pressure in order to paint. So hopefully someone else can answer that question with a little more accuracy. All right, let's go to where were we? Okay, so evenly used all around the layout, so that's good to know. And as I said before, don't neglect painting scenery and track with an airbrush. Now, how do you do that? Now, at least one other person in the chat here. I agree. 25 psi is probably more than enough. You know, how much you're going to use depends upon the viscosity of your paint. Okay, I'm painting with lacquer-based paints, which are very viscous. They're very thin, and they're going to move with less air, I think, than an enamel. Probably less air than an acrylic. So you're going to have to play that by ear. Now, at least one other person, and maybe two, mentioned this kind of a unit earlier in the discussion. So this is the air pump. Go ahead and turn it on. The air pump that powers this compressor, this airbrush rather. So I don't know if you can hear that or not, but and I've used this a couple of times when I was in a position where I couldn't get my airbrush spray booth set up, and I needed to paint a project. In fact, couldn't very well have been this project. But this is great. This is $55 on Amazon. So if you haven't gotten started on airbrushing and you want to give it a try, this is a dual action. And I don't want to insult anybody. I know we've got a lot of experienced airbrush users. But a dual action airbrush is one where when you push it down, the air comes out. And depending upon how hard you push it down, determines how much air comes out. And when you pull it back, that releases paint. So dual action airbrush, top feed, gravity feed, meaning the paint is added into a cup above the airstream. And so this is great for model railroading work. Look, you can carry this around, spray your track in place, spray weather your scenery, weather your ballast, all that needs to be weathered. And so this is really good for doing that. You know, this may not be good for laying down a metallic finish on, you know, a Century Series fighter aircraft or something where you need consistent pressure and a lot of fine control. But when you're just doing scenery work, this thing is, I think, great. You can walk around the layout and do everything you needed to do. Now, I've not tested how long this battery lasts. This thing just charges up with a USB-C device. It held a charge beautifully. I can't tell you the last time I used it, and it was still 100% charged when I brought it out to set up for this demonstration. But I highly recommend one of these. You can get this on Amazon, $55, and get started airbrushing. Be a great way to get an introduction, in my view. If anybody else out there has used one of these and has any advice or more experience, I've only used it twice. Please let us know. But I've been perfectly happy with the results I've gotten from this unit. It comes with a little, 3-foot hose. You can take the hose off and attach the airbrush directly to this and just carry it around by hand and go out on your layout and go to work. So, highly recommended. This hose came with it, Tom. But yeah, I know it could just be connected right here with no hose, but this particular unit, and again, I did check it on Amazon earlier today. It's there for $55. It comes with this hose. So it came with the hose. I didn't add it. So again, for those of you who haven't done any airbrushing, who want to get started, for $55, you can get started with a unit that isn't terrible, and I think it would help you do weathering. It would help you do painting of your scenery and that sort of thing very easily, very easily. So, well worth checking out. Well worth checking. So, what kind of airbrush do you own? So, and again, I know there's a lot of experienced airbrush users out here, so I'm not trying to insult anybody. What? I guess I'm missing the joke there about the purse. So there are two kinds of airbrushes in terms of feed. There's a siphon feed here where the air going across the airbrush will create a siphon and draw liquid up from a cup or a jar in this case that is below the airbrush. This is a bottom feed airbrush. And this is ideal if you're doing a lot of painting. Thank you, Andy. Appreciate that. If you're doing a lot of painting, you can have a very big container here. Very big container here. But the disadvantage of the bottom feed is you need to have a lot of air moving across the top of the container, create the siphon in order to get paint to come. And so it's hard to do really detailed work with a bottom feed airbrush. That's the theory anyway. That's the as opposed to something like this, which is a top feed. And there are a lot of other, you don't have to spend the money that an Iwata Revolution costs to get a good airbrush, in my view. Cheap airbrushes work great. But here, the paint is in this cup, and so gravity is pulling it down. And so a very slight amount of air will carry paint. And so theory is you can do more detailed work with the top feed. Now, the other characteristic that we're looking at here is single action and double action. Now, in a single action airbrush, the trigger here only moves backwards and forwards. And that pulls the needle in the airbrush back and allows paint into the airstream. The airstream, if it's controlled at all in a single action airbrush, is controlled outside the airbrush, maybe on the air supply itself. You would adjust the pressure and you can't. So that's a single action airbrush. Simpler, easier to use. But double action is not that hard to use in my view. Now this is a double action brush, and you may not be able to see it, but this button goes up and down. And so when it's pushed down, it's releasing air from your air supply. So So you can push it down and you're not painting. Air is coming out of here. But as soon as you start pulling back on the trigger, you're moving the needle back and you're allowing paint to go into the airstream. So you can get very fine adjustments on this double action by only depressing the trigger part way, letting out a small amount of pressure, and then backing the needle back gently to get a very small amount of paint so you can paint a very fine line. Hey, Lynn McCurdy, good to see you, sir. Good to see you. The top feed is easy to spill. I'll agree with you there, Lynn. With my shaky hands, that can be an issue. And you've got to have a place to put a top feed airbrush down when you're in between colors, taking a break, you gotta move the model or something. You got to put it down. Got to have a place to put down this kind of an airbrush, or else it's going to fall over and it's going to dump paint all over the place. And so you do have to have a cradle or something to put this in. Whereas if you have one of these siphon feed models, you might be able to set it down on the container and it won't fall over. That's a very good point, Lynn. Thank you for bringing that. Thank you. But the consensus in the painting community is that, this top feed is the way to go for doing detail work. But you are not going to want to paint the backdrop of your layout pouring paint in this little cup. Right? No way. You're not going to want to paint 15 feet of track with that little cup. So you really want this to, and an even bigger jar in order to do big landscape projects scenery projects on your layout. So they all have their use. They both have their use. Yeah, Chris, I think it is going to be handy. We'll see. And obviously I could attach it to, figure out a way to attach it to a siphon feed, and then I could carry it around the layout. So I'm looking forward to giving that a try. $50 might be worth the expense. So we've got 16 of our respondents. Let's see, we've got 26, 30. Wow, we've got a lot of respondents. We have 24 answers, sorry. But 16 double action gravity feed brushes like this Iwata. 10 single action siphon feed. This is a double action siphon feed, but again, siphon from bottom up. 9 double action siphon. 3 others. Not sure what the others are. I'll take a look at those quick. Other, none. Don't remember. A Grex pistol grip. Okay, well, that's cool. That gets into our next question, which is, hey, Johnny Railer. You are making an appearance back in the community again after a long absence. I saw you the other day, and now here you are again. So what brand of airbrush do you use? And I listed what I thought were the biggest airbrush brands. Johnny, we're talking about airbrushing. Thayer Chandler airbrush. I've not heard of that. It sounds classic. Mark. That's right, Johnny. I'm yapping again. So I can tell you, I've looked at these other answers here. I'd love to try one of the Grex brushes. I think the Grex brushes look like they've got totally different ergonomics. As one of the commentators said, they had a Grex pistol grip. The survey, you can't, oh, I'm sorry. Thank you. I forgot to switch my view back. Thanks, Ed. Sorry about that. So here's the thank you. So others, let's see what the others are. I know that when I looked at these answers earlier, okay, Harder Steenbeck. That's a good point. And a beauty airbrush. You know, that little portable airbrush unit that I showed earlier, this particular one is advertised for modeling, but it's also advertised for doing nails and makeup and things like that. So I think that's what this commentator was referring to, this kind of a brush. Not sure. Avanti brush. Never heard of an Avanti brush before. Master. There were quite a few people. A nail brush. Again, I assume it's similar to this. Master. One Badger, three Master. So I looked up the Master brushes, and they are very common on Amazon and very reasonably priced. So I'm sure they're fine. I'm sure they're fine. It may be a testament to how bad I am with an airbrush, but honestly, I don't see a lot of difference between the cheap ones and the expensive ones. I don't. If anyone you disagree, let me know. Oh, so Iwata makes a pistol grip. You know, I associate Harder Steenbeck with the Grex with the weird ergonomics. So we only had one person who indicated they used Grex. All right, what kind of paint do you spray with your airbrush? So water-based acrylics, clear leader at 21, lacquer with 4, enamels with 8. And you could pick as many as you wanted there. I paint primarily with these lacquers, as I said. Johnny, I use my primary airbrush right now is this Iwata Revolution airbrush, top feed, double action, Iwata. I can't remember the size of the needle. It's good for fine work. But I have 4 or 5 airbrushes that I use, including a number of, an old Pache brush. I've been airbrushing since I was 15 years old. Started out with those Propel cans that would get freezing cold and stop putting out air. And then I had to stop painting and wait for the things, be holding them in my hands, trying to warm them up so I could finish the job. What a pain in the neck that was. And we're going to get to air supply in just a minute. So obviously acrylics, water-based paints. What are you all using to thin that stuff with, and how are you doing on adhesion? My problem with acrylics, and I believe water-based paints, and I believe I voiced this before, is I cannot get it to stick. Beads up. Now, maybe I'm not prepping my surface well enough, but you know what? With this lacquer, I don't have to prep my surface any better than I'm already doing it. This stuff goes down like a dream. I never had this beat. So, but again, I have the circumstances where I can spray noxious chemicals with immunity. I've got a good ventilation, dedicated model space. So I don't really have to worry about it. But what are you all using to thin your acrylics? I know there are different formulas and things that people use in order to make that stuff lay down. And I can't get it to lay down. So and it just beads up. Isopropyl alcohol. Good idea, Chris. Good idea. So, okay, what air supply do you use for your airbrushes? So my first option 1 was none. I never liked air supplies music. One person actually selected that answer. So one person is using those little Propel cans. Tom just uses water. Oh, naphthalene for enamel, Dave. That's interesting. Where do you get naphthalene? Is that something you can get at the big box hardware store? Okay, and Joe, that's the Tamiya thinner for acrylics. Okay, you can use additives to help with adherence. Yeah, and I think that's right. I think that's right, Mark. You can put things in to lower this viscosity, to break the surface tension of the water. Hence, Chris is using alcohol. And, you know, I experimented with and never had a conclusion with use something called wet water, which is a product, a photo product used in the photography days of developing film chemically. And I'm sorry, I've run over my hour. I'm not going to take much more time. I appreciate you all hanging in with me on this. But there is this wet water product. I should have dug that out from Kodak. A couple of drops of that wet water was supposed to break surface tension and make water-based paints work better. So, not sure what that is. I'll try and post a short or do a post about that, or do a community post about that when I find that. So, a large refillable air tank. One person is using that. You go and get CO2, get a big can, fill it with CO2, and it'll last you for a long time. Yeah, wet water, I think it does. Again, Mark, it's been a long time since I've tried it. I know it's kind of weird, wet water, kind of a joke, but I'll find out more information about that. Let me write down wet water here, and I'll get some information out to you all via my channel. But I know I have a bottle of it somewhere, and it's from Kodak. That's right. Oh no, I went over an hour, Ed. I don't want to do that. So a compressor, a brushless compressor. A lot of people use a brushless compressor. 5 people. I'm one of those 5. A compressor with an air tank. Now, honestly, I think that's really the best alternative because it's an unlimited supply of air and it's quiet, dead quiet most of the time, and there's no pulsing. When you use the air right out of a compressor, you have the danger of getting pulses of air, and so your stream of paint is drop of dawn equals wet water. Yeah, that could be too, JD. You're right. That would break surface. So I think a compressor, and the bigger the tank, the better, in my view, because then the compressor won't kick on. That's right, Ed. Dry water is an oxymoron. But I can't tell you how many times I've had that little, 2.5 gallon tank on my compressor. And I would be in the middle of painting something and really focusing, and boom, the compressor would kick on and it would scare me. And so that was, Lynn, that looks like a very scientific answer. Thank you. Yeah, Mark, that's a good point. And there's a lot of these acrylic paint manufacturers do sell thinners and various chemical agents that you can add to your paint. Johnny, we talked a little bit about pressure earlier, and the feeling was 25 psi is probably the most you want to use, but the amount of pressure is going to be dependent upon the viscosity of the paint and how much air you need to move to get that paint to lift and move, right? If you're using lacquer-based paints like this, honestly, it's going to move with less pressure. Yeah, Windex I think is good too. I think one of the primary ingredients in Windex, quite if I'm not wrong, is alcohol. So someone else suggested, I think, denatured alcohol or isopropyl alcohol, rather. So I think alcohol is a good choice. So at any rate, I think a big tank is the way to go, and I have the I have a really big tank with compressor set in my. It's been in my Amazon wish list for a long time, and it's a big, like a 25-gallon tank. And so my guess is that the compressor would never kick on and scare the crap out of me. I don't need that to happen, you know. Yeah, Dave at BNSF, I've heard that too. Windshield washer fluid is a possibility. So, um, so that's good. Yeah, I've just never had good luck with acrylics. Never. I brush acrylics, no problem. I'll brush acrylics, paint detail parts, make washes occasionally, but even those beat up on me. I'd rather do washes with oil paints. Okay, that's very specific answer there, Andy. I like that. Thinner, waterborne thinner, SAH 531, made by HMG for acrylics. Okay, well, I should probably write that down too because I need help with that. So here is our last question in our survey. How do you address airbrush fumes? Now, my first answer, I was trying to put a humorous answer as my first answer that no one would select, but you all have such a good sense of humor that some of you selected it. I just breathe the fumes. I'm old and I don't give a crap. Obviously, I was speaking for myself because I am old, but seriously, you need to have a way to move fumes out of your space. If not for you, then for the people you're living with. So a spray booth that vents outside. That's what I have. And honestly, I'm telling you, there's nothing like it. I did a series, uh, Barbarous Rex, what Rick Bailey sounds very curious. I did a series of videos on how to make your own spray booth, and I highly recommend doing that. It's not as cheap as some of the options you'll find online, but I got to tell you, it's quiet and it moves a ton of air. I have painted in my spray booth with cans of spray paint, and you cannot smell it. Okay, it pulls everything out of there. So it's a really good spray booth. So feel free to check out my videos about that. I won't say anything more about it. It's a project. You've got to get a 4x8 sheet of half-inch plywood to make the booth body. Got to buy the vent fan. It's a project. Barbados Rex. Okay, I'll have to check out Barbados Rex. I do a lot of spray painting outside, and one of my more popular videos was how to spray paint outside. And so I do a lot, especially with spray cans. I will run outside and paint and bring it back inside. I'll warm the bottle up in a pot of warm water. Make sure the paint's really warm. I'll warm up the target. A YouTube airbrush guru. Okay, cool. I look forward to checking him out. I'm not a guru. I'm just a guy who likes to paint. Yeah, no windows in the basement. I wondered why you didn't have any windows in the basement. That's unfortunate. Unfortunate. But we've all got to work around some limitations. So a spray booth that vents inside. I know that if you're painting with acrylics, you can get some filtration on the back end of your paint booth that will remove all that stuff. So that's great. That's a great solution if you're painting with it. Absolutely. Spray outside when possible. And we'll check out the other answers here. This is why I don't use an airbrush. No way to vent. Okay, well, again, I believe that if you paint with acrylics, you can solve that problem. You don't have to vent it, you can filter it. Thanks for the link there, Rick. I will check that out. My room is well ventilated. Well, okay, that's good. And if you're not putting it, that's interesting. You just paint. No special enclosure. You just paint. You just let the room air conditioning vent it out. My wife's asthma. Yeah, that's very important. This could be James. I don't know. I know his wife has asthma. That's got to be important. You do not want to jeopardize your health and the health of anyone in your home with you. It goes without saying. So you need to find a way to get that out of there. And I think those were all the other answers. So, all right. Well, that was fun. Photo flow. Wayne Chapman. I do not recall seeing you here before, Wayne Chapman. Welcome. Apologies if you have been here before. I'm sure some of my SDS colleagues will correct me if you're a regular attendee. But you're right. I think it's called Photo Flow. I do think that's the name of the Kodak product, Photo Flow. And I've got a bottle of it somewhere. I haven't completely emptied out all of my paint supply. I'm looking behind me because I have shelves full of paint and thinners and that sort of thing. And I don't see the Photo Flow, but you're absolutely right, Wayne. Thank you for that. It is called Photo Flow by Kodak. That's the wet water. And you don't have to use that straight out of the bottle. Just a few drops of that in another container. I have another container that's called wet water. I've mixed a small amount of the Photo Flow in with tap water or bottled water. Okay, I will make Rick a moderator, but I don't think I'm going to try and figure that out now. Click on it. Okay, I'll have to go over here to YouTube. I'm going to click on Rick Bailey. Add as my. All right. There we go. Let me change my camera here. You don't need a double there. So thank you, everyone who participated in my last-minute survey about airbrushing. It's encouraging to me to see how many people are using airbrushes. I think it's an essential tool. It's an incredibly a fun tool. You've got to get down a process for cleaning your airbrush that's easy, that works for you. That's right, Dave, BNSF. They do say that, they do call it wet water. They do call it wet water when you put like a little dish soap and water and you spray the ballast and then you put the glue down. They call that wet water also. Take care, Andy. Thanks again for your live last night. This morning at 9 o'clock. It's a long time ago. But it's encouraging to me that so many people are using an airbrush. If you're not using an airbrush, I certainly recommend that you give it a try. You can do it for, $55. So I'm going to sign off. I'm tired now. This has been a long show, but it's been really great. Thank you for all of your participation. I really appreciate it. Now, reminder, next week is Rick Bailey over at the Foltz Bailey Model Railroad channel. He will be doing SDS next Sunday night at 8 o'clock. And the week after that, the fifth Sunday in March, will be Ray Bobel. So look for their channels to for Sidetrack Sunday. Sorry, stumbling over that. Sidetrack Sunday in the next few weeks. Wish me luck in Ontario. Maybe I'll come back with an award from Hamilton, but I want to see our Canadian friends up there, our Ontario friends, so I'll be reaching out. So until next time, Bob Johnson with PK&W Model Works signing off. Thanks for being here on the live stream. Keep on modeling. Good night.